Hey guys, it's Kat, and I wanted to just come to you guys and just talk about literally all of the things on my mind right now, because there's just so much happening in the world. So much. And I wanted to just sit down and talk to you guys, like, real quick and just give you an update in general about how I'm doing, because you're probably not going to hear me talk about this a lot super publicly. I do have a lot of these conversations on Patreon. I'm not saying that to like advertise my Patreon. It's just typically when I speak like this to the camera, I do it on there. But I figured that I would come on here and like just give you guys an understanding of where I'm coming from and what is happening for me and what's been going on and how I've been feeling and just everything. Because these are, again, things I'm not going to talk a lot about in my videos. So, Trump and his administration have been doing a number on this country. And I have to be honest and say that when he got elected, I made the decision. It was a decision I made in the past, in the previous administration, to not give him my energy. Because the one thing I became really aware of in the last administration, and it's super obvious in this one, way more obvious in this one, is that they want for me to feel scared. They want for me to feel isolated. They want for me to feel as if I should remain in these very narrow lines, right? And I talk about this a lot, so I'm sure you guys are tired of me hearing, you're tired of hearing me talk about this, but I lived in Orange County for 6 years, and I was stealth, and I was trying to basically be a housewife. And I've been thinking a lot about that because I recently buried both of my parents. That's another reason why I wanted to make this video, because there's a lot of emotional shit that I've had to process in light of that. And one of the things I have kind of recognized as I took a real assessment of both of my parents' life is that my parents made a great sacrifice for me. They put me in a really good school. They worked really, really hard to make sure that I would become a productive adult who is able to function and survive and thrive. And frankly, I feel like they were quite successful at that. You know, I think they were quite successful at that. Even if they spent a good part of my formative years making me feel like that wasn't going to happen for me. They actually did a good job, right? And I think my father had to figure that out at the very end, right? When my mom passed, because my mom passed before my dad. My mom passed, and I had the realization that I was the only person in the family that could afford to bury her. And mind you, I'd spent most of my childhood, because you guys, keep in mind, I've been online since I was a kid, fighting with my dad about what I was doing. And my dad never really saw it as a real job. Most people still don't, even though it's a pretty secure job in comparison to most right now. But I think he finally recognized it, and he met Edward, and he liked Edward. At the time, Edward was thinking about he's a paralegal. He's been thinking about becoming a lawyer. And my dad loved that. He loved that, right? And it was really nice to see him accept a partner of mine, right? Because I had never had that experience, and I had so much of my life was fighting with him about that, right? So it was nice that I got to have a little bit of that closure, but I wish I had more time. I wish I had more years, right? And my dad, to really quickly go over this really quickly, he raised us incredibly religious and very sheltered. When I say my parents did their best and tried, what I mean is like, my parents raised me very evangelical, very Christian, very sheltered. They put me in really good schools. They put me in private school, and I'm adopted, right? So I can't look at my childhood without thinking about sacrifice, right? They did so much, and I am the result of that work, right? And I can't squander it. But because of my father's rejection of me, I kind of put distance between myself and my father's side of the family, who I assumed was far more conservative because he was so conservative. Come to find out, after he passes away, my dad essentially moved to California, ironically, to be away from his more liberal family who would judge him for being as religious as he was. And I learned so much about my father. I wanted to see my father before he died. And when I found out my father was dying, I was in the middle of filming a YouTube video. The the one I uploaded way too late about the brunch place in Korea. Not in Korea. It was a Korean brunch place in New York, actually. Whatever. And I had to kind of suck it up. I felt I had to kind of suck it up, film this video to get on the plane to see my father. And when Edward and I eventually did touch down in Boston, my dad was only alive for about an hour after we got there, and I wasn't able to say goodbye. And I wasn't able to say goodbye to either of my parents. That's really, really fucking hard. It's really fucking hard. It's really fucking hard. But seeing my father's side of the family, it was so crazy. My aunt, who I share a name with, she looks just like him. And she sat with me. And she was so loving, so kind, so accepting. Like the complete opposite of the father. The complete opposite of the father that I had. And I looked around her apartment. It's just like my apartment. We like a lot of the same things. Anyway, she told me so much about my father. I learned so much about him. I learned that he had this pattern of self-sabotage and he was terrified of being embarrassed. My dad quit his job when we were in school so he could pursue this invention. It's a very silly invention, very old-fashioned invention, but it was something that was memed to death on the internet at the time. And he got an opportunity to go on Jay Leno to talk about it, but he didn't want to go on Jay Leno because he didn't want to be embarrassed. And had my father gone on Jay Leno, we probably wouldn't have had the house foreclosed on. My parents probably wouldn't have moved to Arizona. And my mom probably wouldn't have died alone, isolated, away from me, away from art, away from creativity, away from culture, away from everything she loved, in sweltering Tucson, Arizona. And it just made me realize, like, fuck, man, I inherited so much of that from my dad. And it made me realize how similar I was to my father in ways that I didn't think I was, you know? And it made me realize that so much of my dad's reaction to me was quite literally just how much of that he saw. And I didn't think I was similar to my father at all until he had died. And I wish I could have understood that. I learned that my dad, my big, scary father, back in Boston, was the little tiny wimp that was beaten up all the time. And that's why he was so hard on me. That's why he wanted me to be a man, right? A strong man, a tall man, at this, that's why. Because he dealt with not being seen that way. And he didn't want for me to be harmed. And it's crazy how I pieced all of this together and how impactful it's been on my life. And all of this is happening during this administration. It's like I'm in this strange point in life where I have a lot of clarity, but also question everything I know. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just a scary thing. And as I feel like so many of the things around me collapse, I'm finding myself more appreciative of what I have. For as much as I complain, for as much as I bitch and whinge and moan, I have partners who love me, who would move the world for me. I have actually been able to take care of myself. And for as much criticism and trauma and whatever I've felt and experienced and expressed, it's all not as bad as I think it is. It can actually be so much worse, So right now I'm in this space of appreciating what I have and recognizing that I have more than most, right? And being thankful for that, because I need to be. I need to be thankful for that. I have this awareness now that there are people in this world who really rely on my dejection. That there are people who quite genuinely get power from the idea that I'm suffering, that people like me are suffering. I have to take hold of that narrative and celebrate what I know to be true, which is that I have ability. I have heart. I am actually human, and I don't need to prove that to anybody. I don't need to prove shit to nobody. I think I've recognized that I, in so many ways, am living in an authenticity that a lot of people are scared of living. And it is scary. It is fucking scary. There's a part of me that, with everything happening, does regret not being stealth anymore. There is a little part of me that feels that way. But I'm gonna say this: the one thing that's really sort of changed this for me a little bit, the one thing that makes me keep doing this is I have met so many young trans people who say that I was someone who raised them, which y'all make me feel so old when you say that, but I guess I have been making videos for that long, that they used to follow me in middle school, and now they are getting their graduate degree and they're still following me. It's crazy to think about that, actually. And it seems like I've influenced so many people. And the thing I've kind of realized is, in a weird way, I did actually create that like tender queer media that was necessary for a lot of kids, for a lot of younger people. Like shit that I really fucking needed. You know, like I don't think the kids are watching my stuff, but they are, I guess. And I am proud that I made something, I've done something that, you know, gave other people a feeling of belonging, because that's what I've wanted. That's why I started doing this. I wanted to feel belonging, right? And you know, now it has shifted a little bit for me, but the desire to have that impact is still there. And I find myself thinking a lot about how to keep doing that, but doing that in a way that is sustainable to me right now. And so right now I have this desire to do creative things, because one thing I've recognized is that I have spent so much time being reactionary to other people's things and not as much time creating things that could be reacted to. And the thing is, I have so much in me. I'm a writer, I speak, I illustrate, I animate, I dance. You know, I can do a lot, but I haven't given myself the ability to. And I realized that I have so much of that fear my father has had. And that in some ways, my dad probably did engender that a little bit in me when I was younger. But what I do know is that my parents wouldn't want for me to do that, right? They wouldn't want for me to live there and be comfortable there. So I'm saying that I'm in an experimental phase right now. That's part of why you guys have this video right now. And I'm moving forward, trying to find a way to give you guys the content that I want to give you, but then also still make space for me to do other things, because I want to do other things. I want to actually make more creative things on here specifically. I want to shift into being a little bit more of like let's talk about, remember when I used to joke about how this channel is going to become like a survivalist channel? Low key, that's kind of what's happening right now a little bit. Not really, but we're going to inch towards that slowly but surely, but like in a fun way. Because for me, what does survival mean? Creativity, community, a DIY center, DIY till I die, right? And all of that shit is actually why I started this channel, right? And my parents passing away has inspired me to not stop pursuing that. So I just wanted to give you guys that update real quick. So of course, at the very last minute, I would run out of space and I would have to make another video. But today I did upload a work video. I upload work vlogs for all of my Patreon members. It's really videos that I vent about work related stuff in. And in that video, I do kind of talk a little bit about personal shit. I clearly need to make a personal update video. So I will probably do that later as well. But that's kind of like, this is kind of like what those videos are like. This one's a little bit more high quality though, I will say. Usually the ones over there, just for your warning, I'm always like multitasking, doing other things and venting. But I wanted to make this video for my main channel just to share, because I know that a lot of people are probably wondering how I'm doing. In general right now, I am okay. Am I amazing? Not so much in some ways. Again, I'm going to vent about that probably later on Patreon today. But a lot of my complaints sound like first world problems right now. And so for me, I have very few complaints. I'm just trying to keep myself safe, try to figure out what I can do for people around me, and, you know, love my partners and spend time with my partners. That's kind of like right now what I've been focusing on, more than anything. And I'm also trying to make sure that I'm able to still make stuff for you guys. So I do appreciate that a lot of you guys go over to Patreon and support me. It means a lot to me, especially right now. It means a lot to me. So just want to make this video for those who were curious. But anyway, on that note, I'll talk to you guys next time. And as per usual, I want you to always remember and to never forget that you are beautiful and you are loved. Bye.